So I thought I would do a video about books that will make you feel better, or will hopefully make you feel better. Um, these are books that I read when I like don't feel good, or I'm just feeling like a little down. They just put me in a better headspace, so I'm hoping they have a similar effect on you guys if you decide to read them. So the first book is People of the Book by Geraldine Brooks. This book is I need to stop saying this book is set in like several different times, but the main character is either an archivist or a conservator, and she is asked to go to Sarajevo. And again, if I say anything wrong, I'm sorry. I'm trying. Um, she is sent there to repair a Haggadah, which is a Jewish book about Passover, I believe. Um, and she is sent there to repair it. It is over 500 years old, at least. And she is sent to take care of it and like create a climate controlled box for it and like repair the tears and the binding and all of that. And so as she is going through the book and repairing all these different things, she finds several items stuck in it or like in between the pages, and like a moth, hair, and like the parchment is like a specific kind of parchment. So she sends bits of these things off to some of her colleagues who tell her, like the moth only lives in like this certain area, nowhere else. So like clearly the book must have been there at some point, and the parchment only comes from like this region, and it actually came from like a kind of sheep that is extinct now, because parchment is actually like dried animal skin. So this particular kind came from a sheep and it's extinct, and so it came from that specific area, and so the book started there. And so it like journeys through that, like it's about her finding all these things and mending the book, and um, figuring out like where it was. And then as you get to each item, it has like a little backstory that's about why the book was there, who had it, and for what reasons. So like I think I don't want to give any spoilers, but like there's a part about World War II, and so the book was with this girl who was trying to smuggle it because it's a Jewish book, and obviously like Jews weren't greatly accepted during World War II. Um, so she's trying to keep it safe because it's so important. And like someone else uh, like found it somewhere in like a library like years and years later, and so all of that stuff. And it's just a really good book. Like the descriptions, I think, are what makes me feel better, because it's just so rich, and it's just so good. Like I don't know how to explain it, but she just explains everything so well. Like this writer really does her research. She's written several other books that I really love, like The Secret Chord, which is again super descriptive and just beautiful. And I think you just find yourself feeling better because you're imagining all these amazing things in your head. So that's what makes me feel better when I read these. I need to stop saying that. The next book is The Red Tent by Anita Diamont. And this one is a biblical fiction, historical fiction. I wouldn't call it Christian because parts of it are rather uh, racy, shall we say. Uh, but this is just so good. It follows the character Dina, who is Joseph's only daughter, and it's about her life growing up and like how he met each of his wives, and then uh, they had her. I think she's Leah's daughter. So Leah had her, and then like she grew up, and so the red tent is where the women in the camp go when they're menstruating and when they are ready to give birth. I think they might spend all of their pregnancy in the red tent, actually, if I remember correctly. I'm not sure. I read this years ago. But this makes me feel better because, again, it's so descriptive and you just find yourself imagining all these things. I mean, it's set in, again, like a biblical time, like a long time ago, and so there's all these, like, beautiful fabrics and beautiful descriptions, and she's really good at describing the scenery and the wadis and the desert and how hot it was and uncomfortable, but then like the cool nights and the dinners around the fire and everything, and what would happen if they like met other people on the road, and like how they would show their hospitality and everything. So this is just so good, and it's not super long either. Like it'd be like maybe a day and a half if you have a lot of time in your hands. So highly suggest this as well. Um, I just love like historical fiction like that. This one is not historical fiction. This is probably a contemporary book, I would say. It is set in Broken Wheel, Iowa. It is The Readers of Broken Wheel Recommend by Katarina Bivald. I'm not sure if I'm saying her name right. I should have looked it up first. Anyway, the main character, Sarah, is from Sweden, and she somehow winds up with a pen pal in Broken Wheel, Iowa. I don't remember how, but they share a love of books, and so Amy, Sarah's pen pal, sends her all of these like amazing books. Like every time she gets a letter, she gets a book, and like I think she read Fried Green Tomatoes and loved it, and The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, and all of those. And so they decide that it's time to meet. And so Sarah flies from Sweden to Broken Wheel, like as close to Broken Wheel as she can get, and then like drives the rest of the way to Broken Wheel, and gets there, and the house is full of all these people. And she's like, well, what's going on? Like, this is a party or like a welcome party or like what's happening? And someone tells her that Amy has died. Believe Amy had cancer, but she never mentioned that in her letters. And so Sarah gets there and there's no Amy. So she's like grieving for her friend that she kind of knew but kind of didn't know, and like really sad because she never actually got to meet her. And so they're like trying to figure out what they should do with Sarah. And so she winds up spending um, the rest of her time in Amy's house, which would be really eerie. Uh, so she finds out that there is, like, she's the outsider, and people don't really like her very well. And so she finds out that there's no bookstore, and I don't think they have a library either, actually, now that I remember. So she decides to open a bookstore and sell Amy's books for like cheap or nothing. So she's like giving some of them away because she just wants people to be able to read and like enjoy that experience. So she starts giving out all these books and like suggesting them to the locals, and like specific books for each like personality. Like she's incredibly good at knowing what kind of person will like what kind of book. And it just is heartwarming. Like it's she starts out as the outsider, but then like by the end you have like they're all like so close knit and everything. It just makes me happy. It's that like small town, almost like Stars Hollow and Gilmore Girls, that kind of feeling. So this is just it's a fantastic book. You should absolutely read it. I actually had to fix it because it was the text block was the book part was coming out of the cover. It's happening again. Like that's how much I read it. Like it's coming apart. So worth the read. The next one is Eliza and Her Monsters. This is actually like a YA contemporary, but even if you're not like a young adult, then I suggest you read this. This is like it's kind of like a YA contemporary romance. Is that too specific? I don't know. Um, Anyway, it's Eliza and Her Monsters by Francesca Zappia, and I love this because the writer is actually like from my hometown, which I absolutely love. But the main character has her own web comic that she's created, and so she does like the art and the story, and it's like gotten huge. Like thousands of people read this every week, and they get upset when she doesn't like post it. So it like follows her through that, and she's just has social anxiety, and so she really struggles when she's not like at her computer or in her room. Like her parents make her go out and talk to people, but she doesn't like that. It doesn't go well. uh so she hates school and all of that, and she doesn't do any extracurriculars. But pretty soon, like her most famous fan fiction writer, like you've made it when you have fan fiction about your stuff. So, which that would be awesome. But her like most famous fan fiction writer actually winds up going to her school, and they wind up like liking each other and everything, but she doesn't tell him who she really is. So that's the turmoil in the book, but like overall it is such a cute book, and I just love that it has some of the artwork um from the webcomic, like the the actual writer of the book, Francesca, does like really good art, and like you can read Monstrous Sea, like the book, the webcomic that this book talks about on Wattpad. It's really good, and like it's the same artwork and the same story and everything. So you should go check that out as well. But like this is an example of some of the artwork. I just love it. It's pretty fantastical, the webcomic, and like it's just such a good book. Like you should totally read this. I guarantee it'll make you feel better. Might make you cry because I do remember one or two sad parts, but like they're really short, and like it has a happy ending. Like she gets better at the end. Um, but this is it's just so good. Like you have to read this. Um, it just I have such good memories of this. Like absolutely read it. I might even read it again. Who knows? But anyway, that is all of the books for this video. Obviously, like there are more books that make me feel better, like obviously Harry Potter and all of that, but I felt like everyone says Harry Potter, so I wanted to do some different ones. So those are the ones that like came to mind and that I could find easily, and that I have really good memories of reading. Definitely check them out. I'll leave descriptions in the box below. And if you could hit like and subscribe, that would be awesome. And I'm going to try to stop saying as much. So I'll see you next time.